So CI/CD is a journey. It's not something that you do one day and you're done. It's something that like you start doing and you start with your dev environment and then you push to where you show things to your early customers. But then you find out that like your customers might need stability. So you add a test environment or pre-production environment if you need somebody to see a new feature and approve it, and so on and so on. So it's not something that like is 1, 2, 3. It's you have to start small. You have to add things. You start with like unit tests of like the individual code. Does it do what it's supposed to do? Integration tests between different things, end-to-end tests, potentially performance test afterwards, security, compliance, different devices. You can really go very far. You can like measure your test coverage. You can like integrate 500 tools, and as such it's something where like you can easily overdo it, but you cannot forget what's your objective, and that is gaining speed. You want very quickly to go from like we did something new to we deploy it or we like remove it. That's what you actually want. You want very quickly from a customer saying, I need this, to a customer saying, thank you for launching it. I love it. That's the only thing that you should focus on. Everything else can wait.
Last but not least, any thoughts on this, Angelina, or would you like to pass?
Yeah, definitely some thoughts. In terms of the two testing processes that I'd recommend is QA test, or they usually call it quality assurance, and UAT testing. Um, there has been over the years the implementation, I think, like Martin said, of unit testing. So I believe that's testing within the code, and then making sure that the development teams are testing whatever they develop. I recommend having the development teams and test teams working very close together. And then obviously an environment for staging so that the UAT team, whoever is doing the UAT, it could be myself, it could be a stakeholder, is able to then test the features or product in an environment that is very similar to production. Normally it's there that you actually find some bugs. And yeah, just focusing on making sure that you're testing. You've got at least 2 gates. That's my hard and fast rule. But yeah, that's it in terms of recommendations.
That is brilliant from all four of you, and really appreciate that. Okie dokie. Just a reminder, we are now finally live streaming. I'm just going to do the shares in a second, but we're doing it on LinkedIn via our page, Startup to Scale Up Club, and we're also live streaming on YouTube, Instagram, and Facebook. So a quick reminder to those of you that are following us via the live streams that unfortunately we're unable to monitor your questions there live. So if you do have any questions for us, you'll need to join us here on Microsoft Teams. Best way to do that is to go to our site, startuptoscaleup.club. Look for today's session, which is Startup Product and Tech Q&A 151. You click join. It's a quick registration that gets you a link to your email. Then through that link, you can then join our audio only call here on Microsoft Teams. And when you're here, that's when you can drop your question in the chat. We'll give you the mic and you can ask our team. We're only going to be here for the next 36 minutes. So my advice would be to hurry up if you do want to join us today. And by the way, there are no wrong questions and there's no need to be shy. Today, we're taking questions on anything to do with building your early stage product and tech, whether that's product roadmap, design, prototype, testing, low to no code, automation, full stack, tech debt, perhaps building your MVP, and anything in between or beyond for that matter. By the way, if your questions today are not on product and tech, please save them for the other events we run. Monday's talent, Tuesday's product and tech, Wednesdays growth, Thursdays fundraising, second Friday of the month it's UK startup law, and third Friday of the month it's UK startup finances. That all from 12 to 1 p.m. UK time. And you can RSVP to any of them via our site, startuptoscaleup.club. And actually, when you go there, what you might also want to do is join our WhatsApp community. It's groups of founders, investors, and operators. And there you'll also get the alerts for future conversations. But again, without further ado, I think we should go to another question that was sent in. This is from a EdTech startup in Glasgow. She says, our EdTech startup in Glasgow offers virtual STEM learning activities for teenagers, and we're not sure how to prioritize A/B testing on different UX elements like layouts and color schemes. What is the best approach for developing an A/B testing plan that aligns with both our design and educational goals? And how do we measure the success of these designs and experiments? So, is there a rule of thumb? Is there a book, a playbook for this kind of game? Maybe we can start with Martin, then Adrian, then Angelina, then Eugenia, please.
So the question is how to do A and B testing. So and how to measure the success. Well, the first
Indeed,
thing
it looks like she doesn't even know where to start. So she's asking, how would you like? Is there a good way to do it? That's what I'm getting from this question.
Yep. So A and B testing is about like you don't know which features people prefer. You don't know if like a way of implementing one feature over the other one has more success and so on. So A and B testing should always have a clear objective. So if you're going to change the color of buttons or fonts or like make a feature in one way or another way, you need to know why you're doing that in the first place. So if like you don't have enough traffic going through, it makes no sense to do A and B testing, because it only works if you have lots of people going to a website, and now you can say, okay, let's take 1 or 10%, send them to the new version and see if like we have a higher conversion rate or this or that. So A and B testing is about like, can I measure an outcome based on like showing a subset of users a different version of a feature. So if you don't have enough traffic, if you don't know what you want that outcome to be, then A and B testing will be lost. So start seeing that you have enough traffic first, and then start defining what is success. Is that sales? Is that like conversion? Is that like registration? Whatever it is, and then make small experiments with your CI/CD pipeline from the previous question to then find out how to really optimize.
Yeah. So I agree. And actually, A/B testing is often used for things like advertisements to see what are the most appropriate ways of advertising, because high volume advertising might be preferred in one way or another, and you get better results with one format versus the other. Reading your question, it sounds a bit like you might be a slightly earlier stage, and I would treat the A/B testing perhaps a bit more informally and actually treat it more like a customer dialogue, where you, depending how many customers you've got, but talk to a small number individually and ask them whether they prefer particular layouts. Because it sounds to me, that this might be more defining how the look of your app works, and that will have bigger impact on multiple parts of your app or your software service. So maybe it'd be more appropriate to have a dialogue and actually work through different options with some of your key customers to see if they prefer layouts or user experiences differently, rather than thinking of it as a kind of binary A/B test.
So The first impression to me is that this is more like a manual thing, something you read in a manual and you try to follow. But it seems like an over optimization in most of the cases because it's too data driven. And it only makes sense, as others said, that it's done when you have a lot of data, a lot of users, and a lot of good reasons to do that. In the end, not many companies do too many A/B tests on the specific UI elements, and it could be an over engineering that then could make the product visually unstable because you change things in any single point, and you lose the holistic design view. That said, there are two nice books to acquire knowledge about this process that are Lean UX and Lean Analytics. Very nice books. But in the end, I think the best way is to have a direct conversation and viewing how users use the platform. So just giving like £50 Amazon card and have a video chat with the screen sharing and ask users to do something and how they do it, collect evidence of how they interact with the platform, and then decide what needs to be improved. And maybe there can be a design review every month with a designer, UX, UI designer focusing on this, and you can have an holistic improvement rather than having many small points here and there that may not be enough to decide the right direction of the product.
Thank you very much. And Eugenio, if I could ask you a favor, on LinkedIn, I've tagged all four of you on the live stream there. If you wouldn't mind finding that live stream, literally all you have to look at is on your sort of notifications, the latest tag on you, and then write as a comment those two books that you mentioned under the live stream. I'd really appreciate it, so that whoever's listening to the recording, but also those that are listening now live, can maybe see those books. Would that be all right? Can you hear me, Eugenia? Hello?
Yes, I can hear you.
Yeah, perfect.
Yeah.
So yeah, would you mind doing that, please?
Okay, so I'm in the page. Sorry, what do I have to do?
On LinkedIn,
Mm-hmm.
I tagged all four of you. So when you look at your notifications, you'll see a tag from me. When you click on that notification, that is LinkedIn, by the way, so not here on Microsoft Teams. And then there's a comment section under that live stream. If you wouldn't mind, just type in the names of those two books that you mentioned.
Oh, yeah, okay.
Would that be okay?
Yeah, sure.
Perfect.
Doing that.
Last but not least, Angelina.
Sure. So there's a tool called Optimizely that companies have used in the past. Bigger corporations, specifically e-commerce companies, tend to use optimization techniques, and a lot of it is tweaking in order to see how much more people we can get through the funnel via the onboarding journey. For example, if you're in a subscription company, you might want to have test out different designs and different journeys, check out flows, etc. It sounds like a really good suggestion for EdTech, but what Eugenio was suggesting about reviewing designs, I definitely recommend that is a good way to go for startups and medium-sized companies, especially if you've got a good customer base who are willing to give you feedback. You work with your UX design team, gather a panel of users, and then essentially either put out a survey or you can do interviews with those users, and you essentially ask them questions about the designs, and that gives you real-time feedback without actually having to really launch anything or build anything into the tool, into the product. But going back to the tools that you have, like Optimizely, that is actually integrated into your product like a website. I don't think there's many optimization tools for apps, so I think Firebase, they have some A/B testing available, but yeah, it does take quite a lot of effort to plug the design in than actually getting some feedback from your UX designs. Hopefully that helps.
Thank you very much, Angelina. Guess what I'm going to ask you to do now?
Comment the tool.
Please, thank you very much for that. Brilliant. Okie dokie. We now have 25 minutes to go. That's probably gives us what, 2 questions. So don't be shy. If you do have any questions, don't just sit on the sidelines. Come and join us here live on Microsoft Teams. It's audio only, by the way. So if you're like me, you don't need to spend hours in front of the mirror fixing your hair. You can literally just tune in, whether you are changing baby nappies in Glasgow, walking a dog in Surrey, or having lunch in Liverpool, or wherever you may be doing whatever you are. It's flexible, accessible, and secure, and it means you can join via any platform or device. So we've got another question. This one again is from London. I think this is from our Grow London campaign that the Mayor of London, their London and Partners team have, and it's a founder that came through them. So I'm the founder of a property rental platform in London that helps landlords and tenants manage contracts and rent payments online. We've recently launched our MVP, but users have reported that the forms for lease agreements display differently across browsers, sometimes cutting off important fields. This inconsistency is causing usability issues and loss of trust amongst early adopters. Given that our platform is document heavy, what best practices or libraries would you recommend for ensuring form and layout consistency across browsers? Also, should we consider setting browser usage guidelines for users, or is it better to prioritize full compatibility? That's an interesting one. I would have thought, for those who know anything about tech, not ignorance like me, but those that are tech literate, today that isn't a huge problem, but I guess it is. So maybe we can start with Eugenio, then Adrian, then Angelina, then Martin, please. What would you do here?
Yeah, well, the most simple thing to do is to, of course, have the same feature tested on different browsers. So if you have a structure made by tasks, each task should have a QA approach where you have a certain acceptance criteria, and to make sure to test over different browsers. There's a platform called the Browser Stack that allows to have multiple environments. It's possible to test most of these things. But I would say that in general, like it's any library, it's just about common sense. So, and it's not about a specific tool, but it's more about making sure that there's a process in which you test all of the edge cases and you try to find a common way to overcome them. So, yeah, maybe browser stack can be a bit expensive rather than using normal browsers in your platform. But in your case, if it's a big problem, that may be the best way.
Yeah, I mean, again, from my experience, the only real way of doing this is to have a variety of browsers on your test machine and check that it's doing what you expect in those. There aren't that many, but I do suspect that there might be a difference between mobile and full screen laptop PC renderings that you might be missing. So one thing to look at is are your customers getting differences because they're using different devices like iPads, iPhones, and laptops, as opposed to the different browsers, and just check that as well. But there isn't, from my experience, anything you can do other than just testing yourself and using mainstream, well-supported libraries for whatever it is that you're doing to create those forms.
Kind of the same feedback from my perspective. speaking with getting the UX design team and development team agreeing on common design components and utilizing I don't know, common design methods across the team. So if you're using one component and making sure that component is able to resize across or adjust itself across different browsers is really important. Hopefully your team is trying to do that. And then obviously testing as well. So taking a mobile first approach with testing on different devices. You can use browser stack, but I've noticed that testing on a browser versus testing on a phone is very different. And you might actually find more bugs on the physical phone than you would on your browser. I know that browser stack connects to real phones, but I still do genuinely believe that testing on your real phone is better. That's it from my perspective. I did actually, when I was working at H&C TV, I hired a test company, and I had one person just doing exploratory testing just to see if they could pick up any issues, because we had a lot of users complaining about a lot of things. So maybe having a round of testing where you have someone just kind of exploring and looking at how everything works, and just focusing on reporting back any bugs that are related to the user experience.
Yeah, so a lot of things were already mentioned. Browser stack is the obvious one. If you need to support multiple browsers, and if it's mobile as well as web, you need to look at like what front-end library are you using. If it's React or any of the 500 that is there, then like they can normally help you with like the majority of issues already. If you really need to also work on like lots of other platforms from mobile, desktop, and so on, then you might look into Flutter, but that would like require a substantial effort to move there. So unless you're like thinking about having one code base on many devices, that might not be the right thing to do. Another thing you can look at, Microsoft open source something called Playwright, with a W for right, which allows you to do a lot of the testing in different devices and browsers in an automated way. AWS has something called Device Farm, which basically allows you to also like go to real devices and so on. So if you don't want browser stack, there's alternatives there as well. But yeah, testing on different devices is probably the only thing you can actually do to avoid this from being an issue.
Well, thank you very much to all of you for that. I'm quickly going to go with another question. So if you kindly bear with me, I'm just trying to copy. They've sent it out of all the places in the world that you can send something. They've decided to send it via Instagram. So it must be somebody who is tuning in via Instagram. So bear with me, just copy and paste. Oh boy. Just there. So this, okay, what are they? All right, so interesting. This is a clean tech founder, he calls himself. And right, bear with me. Oh God, I'm sorry, almost here. All right. Okay, copy and paste. Right, so cleantech founder in London, seed stage with an environmental science background. Problem: developing a platform that helps companies measure and reduce their environmental impact with a focus on energy efficiency and waste reduction. And then goes on to say, whilst companies are eager to reduce their environmental impact, many of our users are struggling to implement the recommendations our platform generates, either due to cost or operational disruption. How can we design a product that not only provides insights but also offers more practical phased approaches to sustainability improvements that align with the financial and logistical realities of our customers. Jesus Christ, you want us looking for us to tell you how to do your business? Literally, I I really don't know what to say on this. Let's start with Martin, then Eugenio, then Angelina, then Adrian, and I wouldn't hold it against you if you don't know where to start with this. Take it away, please, Tim.
Okay, so this is a hard one, especially I would suggest if you make these type of questions come on this call, then at least we can ask some questions, because it's not really clear what these companies are measuring in exactly. Is that like heating systems? Is that like actual manufacturing systems or whatever? So yeah, it's difficult to understand what is being measured, and as such why a specific recommendation would work or not work. So without that, it's really hard to come and say like, oh, do this or do that. But in general, you should always try to find things that like through software can be changed instead of like physical hardware to start with, because if some configuration can be done that like has an impact, then at least customers will get immediate value of like a recommendation. Because if they would, like for instance, reprogram a heating system to be like lower or less time or whatever, then they get an immediate impact. If you say like, hey, you need to like go and change it to like some non-gas system, then of course there's a lot of things that need to happen. So in general, make software first, recommendations before you do anything else, give customers immediate value, and then only then look into what could be done more.
So the problem seems broad, but I assume that there's a deep domain knowledge behind, and that the main problem is to hyper personalize this domain knowledge to specific customers' cases. So it's both a problem of transferring knowledge and make this transfer very easy. Of course, today we have the generative AI technology. So probably I would explore two different things. The first one is building a knowledge base that is agentic reviewable. So RAG, for example, or something similar. And the second thing is to imagine how they should give their own specific case, ask specific questions, or find specific use cases that they can learn from, so that they can be, so you reduce the effort of asking broad questions, and they can ask exactly what they need, because behind there's the agentic technology that relies on a very deep knowledge base that you can start building now by documenting all of the things you know. This is the only thing I have in mind at the moment. But it's still, it's about the value you are providing to these people and why they cannot get this value at the moment, which in my opinion is this problem of communication, essentially.
It's really hard for me to give anything without speaking to the person and getting more insights. The only thing I can recommend is probably listen to users and try to get a cost effective way, or generate a cost effective product to help provide them with the insights that they need. Yeah, it's really difficult to answer without more information.
Yeah, I agree. And I
I
think I was just going to say, I think probably at this stage, you need to provide some case studies of where people have made improvements, small but significant, and use those to illustrate to your new clients what they could do. And then, yeah, potentially this is an application for AI to help take the inputs and provide some phased small steps that companies could produce that are very specific to them based on what the details they provided. But like the others, you know, it's it's a fairly broad question and we don't know the details. So hope that helps a bit.
Indeed, thank you very much, Adrian. We've got 10 minutes to go. So probably just enough time to answer one question. If you are following this via the live streams, I think you still have time to quickly register, depending on how fast you are, and join us here live on the Microsoft Teams call. Just a reminder, we are unable to monitor your questions there. So if you do want to ask our brilliant panelists, you'll have to join us here on Microsoft Teams. Simply go to our website, startup2scaleup.club. Find today's session, which is Startup Product and Tech Q&A 151. Click join, quick registration. That gets you a link with via email, and you can join us here on Microsoft Teams. Once you're here, you can then type your question in the chat and we'll give you the mic. Just a reminder, we run 6 regular events: Mondays talent, Tuesdays product and tech, Wednesdays growth, Thursdays fundraising, second Friday of the month it's UK startup law, and third Friday of the month it's UK startup finances. They're all from 12 to 1 p.m. UK time, and you can RSVP to any of them via our site, startup2scaleup.club. And actually, when you're there, you might also want to join our WhatsApp community. There's a WhatsApp icon at the top and bottom of our site there. We'll go to another question. This is from somebody in London. They're a pre-seed fintech AML compliance, and then goes on to say, the problem we're solving is we're building a tool that simplifies anti-money laundering AML compliance for small financial institutions. Question we have for you today is that we're debating whether to use machine learning to automate the detection of suspicious transactions or to build a rule-based system with human review. How do we ensure that our machine learning models are transparent enough for auditors to understand, especially in an area as sensitive as financial compliance? I'll be really quick with this and then pass it on to the experts. Although I didn't make it because I ended up having an emergency, but the FCA, Financial Conduct Authority, they do a sandbox that is quite useful for you to look at. So I'm not 100% sure what the law is on that, but I think you may be able to use to use AI and machine learning to automate this, but it would mean that if something has been raised, you then need to get a human to look at it rather than completely block somebody. But again, I'm not 100% sure, so I think this is more a compliance thing rather than a tech challenge. Now, in terms of the tech and the product side of it, I'm sure our team can come up with some good ideas. So perhaps we can start with, let's start with Martin, then Angelina, then Adrian, and then Eugenio, please. Any thoughts on this from a product and tech side rather than the legal or the compliance, if that makes sense?
So I looked at compliance a lot because I was Chief Innovation Officer for Legal in General, as well as like when I worked with a lot of crypto companies, and how can you automate it? Rules seem to be difficult because if you have a rule-based system and criminals would find out what the rules are, they would just like go around it. So it wouldn't be very adaptive to criminals who always try to like update what they do to actually like get around rule-based systems. AI, you could make a black box AI very easily, but then it doesn't really help you because it suggests that there might be something, but if you don't explain why, then it doesn't really add a lot of value. So you need to ask the AI to also explain the reasoning behind it. And now in ChatGPT, you see different models that actually do this, that like go and say, okay, this is what I'm doing and this is why I'm doing it. And then you need to work towards a traffic light system. So basically the AI will make a suggestion, and then the human expert could like say, yes, I fully agree, no change is necessary, they just click the green button. um, the red button is clicked as like, hey, I want to completely override what the AI suggests, and that can be really interesting for like fine-tuning incorrect scenarios in the future. And then an orange could be about like, I almost agree, but I want to make these changes. So that can also be very interesting. And what you really want is to go towards like getting as much in the extremes, where like the AI can do things quite automatically. But as Anton says, like you might never get to fully automate the system, and there might be technical reasons, but there also might be compliance reasons.
Yeah, just to add to that, so I've worked in the compliance area and AI, machine learning, LLM models. I think the key thing here is making sure that you're fine tuning your machine learning model. So that is getting data scientists on board and probably making recommendations as to what type of model you use. Restriction of data, so only taking in data that is related to the business and whatever system that you're using. I don't think fine-tuning the model on public data would be good, because from a compliance perspective, I'm assuming it would be very bad. And yeah, that data classification side of things. So classifying data, what data is correct, then reviewing it, getting it reviewed over and over again until there is a level of accuracy that you're happy with before releasing it to the wider public. There has been various stories of companies releasing AI and machine learning too fast, and then it's kind of gone downhill from there. So yeah, I would focus on the accuracy part, and I don't think you'll ever be able to get rid of humans, but you might go from reviewing the data, sample sizes of your data once a week to once a month to every 3 months, once you've gone through that fine-tuning process a few times.
Very cool point. Thank you. Go ahead.
Yeah, no, I think I will. I agree with both Martin and Angelina. I think really the what's being described here will have to be done in parallel, and probably, given that they're debating it, they would have to start with a pretty manual human approach, perhaps have the AI machine learning running alongside with them behind the scenes to see how well it does. And then, yeah, as Martin says, train the AI based on how well it's doing, but also what the human intervention actually leads to. You know, how well is it doing on case by case basis? I think the problem with something like AML is, you know, it's all about compliance. It has to be very robust, because, you know, you'll be held up in a court of law if it isn't. So I would say it is an application for AI in the future, but I think you'd have to take it very steady and be very sure as you roll it out that you're confident in it.
So, well, AI and machine learning are for sure the present and the future. So not doing it means that anyone else doing it will be more competitive anytime. At the same time, it depends on the size of your team, of course, on the past experience and the past products you have done. And usually this, well, it's difficult that you have something working day zero. So instead of so the final goal may be a fully autonomous system in the future, and this aligns the team priority, of course. But in the meantime, to provide the best value is to think about a copilot, where you have different steps and you try to automate each of these steps with the best machine learning model or system possible. Because now we have models going like well, getting better and better, Quen and others. So what is tricky today may be very easy tomorrow. So if you split the steps into a Copilot platform and you make sure that you have visibility about how many of these steps can be done with 100% of accuracy autonomously, you progress towards an increasing number of steps that are already done when the human work with them. So the Copilot approach is the safest one, and the UI and the UX play an important role here while you collect the data to go to the final goal, that is to have everything fully autonomous.
That's brilliant. Thank you very much. Eugenio, I know this is probably a bit too much to ask, but because it's 1 o'clock, so we haven't got time to go into a deeper conversation. If you can come across any kind of article that talks or touches a little bit on how to integrate a Copilot on things like this, and if you can copy and paste the link to that article in the live stream on LinkedIn, that would be great. If not, don't worry about it. But unfortunately, it's now 1 p.m., so I think it would be unfair for me to keep you all here any longer. And first and foremost, huge thanks to everyone that tuned in. Apologies that I managed to mess the tech side of it again today and start a bit later. But before I let you go, any parting words? Let's start with the lady of the house, and then we'll go perhaps with Eugenio, Adrian, and Martin.
Just quickly, focus on value. Working in a startup is not easy, but you'll get there. Just keep going. Tech is a difficult space to be in, so yeah, keep going, keep getting feedback, keep trying to focus on delivering value and listening to your customers.
Well, keep in mind that everything is compounding. Anything you do, and anything should be compounding. So ship faster, learn faster, compound, and it's a great time to be aligned with the current technology. So focus a lot on what's happening worldwide.
Thank you very much. Yes, Adrian.
Yeah, I was just going to say, well, it is very satisfying to get a product into the marketplace that people use and to see how they use it. So although the journey can be hard work and frustrating, when you get there, it can be very satisfying. So don't give up.
Here. Well, huge thanks again to all 4 of you. Martin heads the rush. None of this, we've had about 280,000 people that have tuned in since we first started. None of this would have been possible without people like Angelina, Adrian, Eugenio, and Martin. So huge thanks to you. By the way, people remember they do this for free so that they don't have to keep doing other stuff for free. So feel free to reach out to them, but don't expect freebies. On the other hand, just a quick reminder, we run 6 regular sessions: Mondays talent, Tuesdays product and tech, Wednesdays growth, Thursdays fundraising, second Friday of the month UK startup law, and third Friday of the month UK startup finances. A quick reminder that the best way to engage in this conversation is to join us directly on Microsoft Teams. It's audio only rather than the live streams. And another reminder is that we're here to answer questions, and we'll bring in some of the top people in our ecosystem. And I understand various people may have various reasons as to why they're unable or don't want to ask the question live. But believe you me, it makes for a better conversation, and it actually helps you more if you do come and ask the question in person. Otherwise, as far as my parting words are concerned, just remember the startup journey can be both challenging but also quite exciting. So try to have some fun in the meantime and be kind to yourself and everyone else for that matter too. Otherwise, have a great afternoon. Hopefully see you tomorrow for Startup Growth. God bless you all. Bye-bye for now.